Hi there, and welcome back to 1000 English Grammar Test Practice Questions with nextgenenglish.com. These are questions 41 to 60, and they are about the past simple tense. So before we begin, if you're on nextgenenglish.com, just scroll down the page and take the test so that you can see or have a good idea of what level you're at before we go through the reasons for each of the answers to each of the questions. Of course, as I said before, this test is about the past simple, and it's important to know before we start then that the past simple is subject, or the structure of the past simple is subject plus verb to. So what we actually want is all of our answers to follow this particular structure, subject, verb to, and this is also called the ed verb. Okay. However, not all of the verbs end in ed, which is an important point to remember for this test, which is that some of the questions you will only be able to answer correctly if you know the past simple form of that verb. So this is an important point for this test. It's a little bit more difficult than usual in that you will need to know the actual past simple form or the verb to form of the verb in order to answer it correctly. Okay, so let's go through the test then. Let's start with question number 1. So question number 1 is, the vegetables were delicious, but the rice something so nice. So is it weren't, wasn't, didn't, or couldn't? Okay, so this question here is very straightforward. We've got a complex sentence with 2 parts. So the first part, the vegetables were delicious. This part is, of course, past simple. We have the subject, the vegetables, and then we have be in the form of were. So this is the subject and this is be. So we're using were here because vegetables is actually a count noun. It's a countable noun. You can say 1 vegetable, 2 vegetables, 3 vegetables, etc. So when we have a countable noun, or when we have a subject which is countable, what we need to do is make sure that the form of be that goes with it is were when we're looking at the past simple. Of course, we have were or was. So this in this clause, but the rice something so nice, we have something similar. So we've got the rice, which is the subject, and then we need to know what's going to go here. Is it going to be the same as this, or is it going to be something different? So the answers weren't, wasn't, didn't, or couldn't. Okay, so didn't and couldn't we can rule out straight away because these are helping verbs here. So if we use them in this context, in this particular context, we would need a main verb, and so is not a main verb. So didn't, we need didn't something. We need a main verb to come after this, and we don't have it. Okay, so we're gonna use this so we know that we're so nice. Okay, is actually a description, so we're describing this subject here. So we need to know, is it wasn't or weren't? Now, as I said, this is countable. Vegetables are countable. 1 vegetable, 2 vegetables, 3 vegetables, etc. But rice, is it countable? So should it be weren't or wasn't? Of course, rice is uncountable. You don't say how many rice would you like? I would like 50 rice, please, or 300 rice. No, this is not how we describe an amount. So of course, rice is uncountable. How much rice? I would like some rice, a lot of rice, a little bit of rice. So rice is, of course, uncountable. So we should be using wasn't. So the answer for this question number 1, the rice wasn't so nice. Question number 2. Shakespeare something Romeo and Juliet in the 16th century. So is it wrote, writes, wrote, or written? Okay, so maybe you've noticed immediately we've actually got two words that sound exactly the same. We've got wrote and wrote. Now, one of them, well, obviously they have different meanings, but they are both correct. They are both actual words, English words. So it's just a case of finding out if any of them should go here. So Shakespeare, something Romeo and Juliet in the 16th century. Now, of course, this is a past simple sentence, so we're looking for the verb to. So immediately we should be able to rule out writes. Shakespeare writes Romeo and Juliet is fine, depending on the time that you're talking about. So if Shakespeare was alive now and he was writing Romeo and Juliet, that would be fine if we stopped here, if there was a full stop. But of course, Shakespeare is no longer alive, and he lived quite a long time ago in the 15th and 16th century, I believe. So so we can rule that out. So this should go with a present simple sentence, and of course we're looking at past simple. And written, of course, we can rule that out straight away. The en here should give us a clue that this is a past participle, so it doesn't belong, or a verb 3. This is a verb 3, a past participle. So of course we're looking for verb 2. So this is not going to work in this particular sentence. So it's either going to be wrote or wrote. So which one is the past simple? Of course, the quill here giving us an idea that this is about writing. So of course, to write, it should be the past simple form of to write. The W should give us a clue, is actually wrote with a W. This wrote here, it's actually a method of learning, a way of learning by memorizing and a memorization. So it should be wrote. So question number 3, the driver something carefully as the road was still wet. Okay, so is it break, broke, braked, or broken? So the driver something carefully as the road was still wet. Okay, so a little bit difficult, this question, a bit tricky. Let's start with what it's not, first of all, of course. So this en giving us an idea that this is actually a past participle or a verb 3. So we're looking for verb 2, so it's not going to be this one. So then we have break, broke, and broked. So break, this, if we look at the form, in general, it doesn't look like a past simple form of the verb. And of course it isn't. And even more so than that, it has a different meaning. This is to break something, like break a pencil. If you snap something in half, or a solid object, break it into different pieces. Okay, so it's not break, right? So we've got broke and braked. Now these are both verb 2. These are both past simple forms of verbs. However, one of them is the past simple of this word here, to brake, and the other one is to slow down in a car. Okay, so actually here, broke, this one is the past simple of break. So I break pencils, I broke a pencil. Okay, so braked, this one here is the correct answer. This means slowed down in the car or applied the brakes in a car. This is the correct verb to use in that context. Question number 4. They something to each other and cried with joy. Okay, so is it clinged, clung, clang, or cling? All right, so this is an example of what I was talking about at the very beginning of the video. So here, the verb that we're using, to make the answer a little bit more clear, is cling. So, okay, so to cling. So to cling to something is, as we have here, one of the people in this picture is actually clinging to the other one, which is basically to hold on and to squeeze tightly. So we know that it's not going to be D because that's actually the verb one, or the present simple form of the verb. So it's clinged, which is regular. Is it a regular verb with this ed, or clung or clang? So in this case, we actually need to know what the actual verb to form of to cling is, which is of course clung. All right, so it's not a regular verb, and clang is a loud sound. All right, so a bit difficult, that one, because you actually need to know what the verb to form is. So if you don't know, it's more of a guessing game. But either way, it's still an example of an irregular verb. Okay, so question number 5. Eloise, something when she heard the phone ring. So is it froze, freezed, frozen, or frost? Okay, so let's go through what it's not. So this en should give us a clue here that this is a past participle or a verb 3. So we're not using that. And of course, frost, this is a noun. So frost is something that you might find in a fridge or a freezer. So it's either froze or freezed. So similar to the last question, we need to know what the verb to form of freeze is. Of course, the verb here is to freeze. And the verb to of freeze is actually froze. Okay, so it's not regular. It's not a regular verb. Question number 6. So the cat didn't usually something all of its water, but today was different. So is it drank, drinked, drunk, or drink? Okay, so this should be straightforward, quite a straightforward answer. If we look here, we should see that we have this word here, did, okay, or didn't even. So when we have did or didn't in a sentence, in a past simple sentence, of course, what we need to do is, this is, well, it's a negative form, okay, it's taking a negative form. So when we have subject, did or didn't, what we need after that is actually verb 1, okay? So in a past simple negative sentence, when we have did or didn't, we don't use verb 2, we use verb 1. So let's see if we can find out the case here. So we've got drank, okay, which is obviously not, we're looking at to drink. Okay, this is the verb, so it should be quite straightforward. It's not drank, drinked, which is not a word. It's actually drink. Okay, so the answer to number 6 is drink. Question number 7. A bee almost something Daniela when she opened the window. Okay, so is it sting, stanged, stung, or stinged? All right, so this is another question where we need to know what the verb to form is. Is it regular or irregular? Of course, we know it's not sting because this is the verb 1 form of to sting. So is it stanged? It sounds very strange, doesn't it? Stanged, it's not stang, stung or stinged. And of course, it's not regular. Sting is not a regular verb. It's stung. Okay, so it's obviously not the most pleasant experience to be stung by a bee, but it's always good to know the correct way to describe it. So the past simple form of sting is stung. Question number 8. The blanket something so soft in her hands. So is it felt, field, felt, or feel? Right, so here, again, similar to the last question, we need to know the past simple form of to feel. So to feel, what's the past simple form? So fell. That just looks strange straight away, doesn't it? So it's not feel, and it's not the verb one form. So is it felt or filled? Is it the regular form or the irregular form? And of course it's the irregular form, so it felt. The blanket felt so soft in her hands. George celebrated when he finally something a good job. So is it founded, finded, find, or found? Okay, so the verb we're using here is to find. So to find a good job. So what's the past simple form? So founded, this is a word, but the meaning here is to start something like an organization, like a company or a club or something. So that's not the verb we're looking for. That's not the best line there, is it? Finded, is it finded or find? This word here, find, this means to be told to pay money for doing something bad or something that you're not allowed to do, like parking in the wrong place, where you actually get a parking fine. So this is not what we're looking for. So is it found or finded? Okay, so is it regular or irregular? And the same as the previous questions, it is irregular. Found is an irregular. Find is an irregular verb. And the past simple form, the verb to form, is found. So the children something in the car while she quickly used the cash machine. So is it stayed, stay, state, or state? Okay, so similar sounding words there. So the children something in the car. Right, so we've got stayed here, so this is regular. We've got stay, so we know it's not this because this is the verb one. Of course, we're looking at to stay. So to stay, we cannot use because, of course, stay is verb one and we're looking for verb two. And state is a noun, it's a place, isn't it? Or a condition of something. And state here is not even a word. Okay, so this is just a made up word. Of course, this is a regular verb. The children stayed. To stay and stayed, well, to stay is a regular verb, and the past, because it's regular, of course, is just with ed. So question 11, Carl asked something his manager that it wouldn't happen again. So is it guarantees, guarantee, guaranteed, or guarantor? Okay, so this one should be quite straightforward. We should be able to see immediately that this is a regular form of a verb, ed. This looks like a past form, doesn't it? Guarantees, yeah, with that s should give us a clue that is for the present simple. And guarantee, of course, is to guarantee is the base form of the verb. And guarantor is a noun. This is the person who actually does the guaranteeing. So quite simple. That one is guaranteed. Carlos guaranteed his manager that it wouldn't happen again. So Sam always something his beard when he was nervous. So is it stroked, strokes, stroke, or strake? Now, here we should be able to rule this out straight away. Strokes. It's not strokes because, of course, Sam, we have this S here for the first person singular, but we're not doing the present simple here. This is a past simple sentence. When he was nervous, it should let us know that this is past simple. So stroke is of course the verb one form, and strake. So is it stroked or strake? All right, so is it regular or irregular? Of course, it's regular, stroked. So Sam always stroked his beard when he was nervous. Question 13, when they something her suitcase, it was 2 kilograms under the limit. So is it weighted, weight, weighed, or weight? Okay, so let's go through the potential answers. This one right here, weight, is of course weight, meaning to wait for a particular amount of time. So you don't really weight a suitcase. You can wait for a suitcase. But of course, we're looking at 2 kilograms here. So we should know that this is about weighing something. So this is to weigh. The base form or the full infinitive is to weigh. So is it weighted, weighed, or weight? Of course, weight is a noun, so it's not this one. And so is it regular? Do we just add ed? Well, of course, this wouldn't even be regular because we have the T here. So is weighted? Well, I think we can rule that out. So when they weighed her suitcase, it was 2 kilograms under the limit. Question 14, before she graduated, Samira something of becoming a neurosurgeon. So is it drome, dream, dreamt, or dreamed? This one, of course, same as the other ones. I suppose we need to know the past simple form of dream. So this is about to dream. So Samira had a dream of becoming a neurosurgeon. So let's rule out this word dream. So drome is not actually a word at all. So is it dreamt or dreamt? Well, dreamt, that's not even a word. If it was dreamed, we could say maybe it's regular. Actually, dreamed is also correct. Dreamt is correct here. Of course, we have dreamt being primarily British with this T here, but dreamed is also correct. More often used in America, but also used in British English as well. But both of them are correct. Question 15, the taxi driver didn't really something where he was supposed to be going. So is it know, knew, knowed, or knew? Now, of course, as we had before, if we read the question carefully, we should see this did or didn't here. Okay, so with didn't, of course, we're going to be using subject plus didn't, and of course we need verb 1 this time, not verb 2. So of course the verb here is to know about something, to have knowledge. So very easy, should be, it's not knew or knowed, it's not a word, and knew, this means it's not old, opposite of old. Of course this is know. The taxi driver didn't really know where he was supposed to be going. Question 16, at no stage did we something that we both went to the same school. So is it reality, realized, realize, or realist? Of course, if you look very carefully, we have did here. So that should let us know that we need the verb 1. And the verb here is, of course, realize, or to realize. And so reality we can rule out straight away. Of course, this is past simple. We've got realize here, which is of course what we should be using. Realist, this is somebody who doesn't like to dream, somebody who's a realist, or would describe themselves as a realist. But of course, at no stage did we realize that we both went, so past simple, to the same school. They didn't even something an effort. So is it make, made, mode, or maked? Same again. We've got the same situation again in this question. We've got didn't. So that should let us know that we're looking for a verb 1. So of course, make an effort is the phrase. So to make, so this is what we're looking for, to make. We've got it here. Made is past, mode, that doesn't fit here. The mode of something is a particular form of something or way of doing something, and maked is of course not correct. It's not a word, because make is not regular, it's irregular. So the past simple is made, but anyway, we're looking for make here. So they didn't even make an effort. Pretty much like this picture here of some kind of dessert, where it doesn't look like somebody's made much of an effort. However, we do have somebody looking like they've made quite a lot of effort with this dessert. So we did something about ordering dessert, but we were too full. So is it thunk, thought, thinked, or think? Okay, so should be quite simple, very straightforward. We did something, so not thunk or thought, which is the correct verb to form of think, thought. Thinked is not a word because think is irregular, think, thought, and the verb one form is think, to think. So we did think about ordering dessert, but we were too full. They didn't really something staying up all night, so you should be able to see the didn't there already. So what are the options here? We've got they didn't faced, they didn't fantasy, fancied, or fancies. So we know it's not fancied or faced. And fantasy is, well, that doesn't fit in this sentence at all, does it? So they didn't really fancy staying up all night. And the last question, question 20, they something it to be a very busy night. So is it exempted, accepted, expected, or exacted? There's some very similar sounding words here, but all with very different meanings. So we don't have did here this time. So this is a case of maybe realizing what verb needs to go here and making sure it's the verb to form of it. Of course, all of these end in ed, so they're all quite similar. But exempted, now this, the meaning of this is if something doesn't have to fit in with any kind of regulations or rules. It's left out of having to comply to some certain rules, even though it's in a group where everything has to follow those rules. Okay, we've got accepted, which is quite similar to exempted, but meaning that it's not taken as part of a group, or it's being treated differently in some way. And then of course we've got exacted, which is to demand or to take something from somebody. So this is of course expected. They thought that, they expected it to be a very busy night. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe and follow nextgenenglish.com on social media for more videos and more English learning resources. Of course, don't forget to share and like as well. Thanks for watching.